Those more attentive followers of mine, not suggesting that I have very many followers at all, but those who are kind of hanging around in there, thank you, first of all. But secondly, you may have noticed that I got the date on the thumbnail bastard well wrong. Uh, this is actually what John Waters talks about in his article today. You know, you're never your own good editor. It's the way you can't smell your own breath. I can testify to that as well, according to third parties. So what I did was I took it down because I'm just not up to having that kind of an accuracy. I've taken it down. I put up a new thumbnail. If you listen to the video, I listened to it, and you can hear my leather jacket creaking all the way through it. That's the one item. There are certain things you are not allowed to wear in a recording studio or a radio studio is a leather jacket because it creaks like a motherfucker. So I'm not wearing one now. But anyway, the original talk video of Skondonctiousness is back up, and here's the proper thumbnail, and here you go. Well, hello there. It's been a few days. I actually have been updating and backing up the external hard drive of my PC. I had over 3 terabytes of material to back up, and you know, when you do a computer backup, the whole system is down, so that's why I've been kind of offline for about 3 or 4 days. I was reading John Waters Unchained today. I'm a subscriber to John Waters. He can be quite long-winded, but he's good and his heart's in the right place, and when he's good, he's really, really good. Like all of us, you know, we all have our bad and good moments, or in my case we have our bad and mediocre moments, because I think, you know, a lot of the stuff I do is shite. But having said that, thank you also for everybody who's got in touch regarding the Shite Toy Show. Speaking of things that are shite, it is shite, yes, but people have responded well. Indeed, I noticed in extra.ie today that there is a plan by RTE to fly in a virtual reality version of Gay Byrne to the Late Late Show. That's coincidence, of course. They didn't see it. Nobody watches my shit. But wouldn't you know, I put up the Shite Show, and we brought in the ghost of TV past, Gay Byrne, and now they're going to bring in the ghost of Gay Byrne to the Late Late Show. He probably, even a dead Gay Byrne would be better than a living Ryan Tubridy. But John Waters is good in his most recent article. He's actually really good, because he's talking about the LGBT lobby and how dangerous they are. I saw at the moment Tenny, that particular NGO, which doesn't do accounts, because, you know, accounts are for everybody else, aren't they? There's actually one Fianna Fáil dog at the moment, or Fine Gael dog at the moment, and all the Fine Gael women are dogs. Have you noticed that? Oh, have you noticed that the woke women are always pigs? You know, yeah, okay, that's misogyny, bro. That's such a misogynistic remark to me. Yeah, get out of my fucking face. Take your fucking strawberry, your strawberry vape out of my fucking. This cunt who comes up to the place I go to in Howth, and he's a raspberry or strawberry smelling vape. I said to him, you know, I'd much rather have the horseshit smell of red Marlboro. Fuck off. It was misogynistic, bro. Yeah, but have you noticed how woke women are always pigs? So the some Fine Gael pig is talking about legislation to to create gender quotas in private companies. Now, only a Fine Gael pig would come out with that. That's the fascism of Fine Gael raw in tooth and claw, or red in tooth and claw, because a lot of people, even lawyers, don't understand this concept, which is the sovereignty of the corporate entity. And that's a good thing, by the way. That's not a bad thing. It's the sovereignty of the corporate entity. It means, under company law, and this is very, very long established, this is hundreds of years before the Irish state came into place, unless there are specific laws in relation to corporate governance, and that's, say, in relation to accounts. So you take a company like Tenny, Trans-Ecology Network Ireland, they don't do accounts, they're breaking the law, but hey, they're woke, they get the woke pass, don't they? Hey. But unless there are specific laws that pertain to corporate governance, so for example, a limited company is required to disclose records of meetings and stuff like that. An unlimited company, ULC, is not. But that means it's a company registered, a company registered with unlimited liability, which means that the directors and shareholders are personally liable if things go tits up. But unless the specific statute which relates to the corporate governance of a company, then otherwise a company is a sovereign entity. So nobody has the right to interfere in a company or to find out what's going on in a company, unless, say, it's a company that's importing cocaine or, doing something that's illegal. But aside from that, the decision of a company on who to appoint as its directors is entirely a private matter which is exclusively within the reserve and power of the company itself. So our Fine Gael Peggy-Wig doesn't even understand shit like that. And they're always ugly women, the woke are. There isn't one of them who you'd want to ride. Not one, and I mean, I don't even want to ride women, even the pretty ones. They want to ride me, but I'm afraid I don't want to ride them. But all these woke women are absolute fucking hounds. Oh, stop. I mean, as somebody in America said, behind every woke woman is a girl who wasn't asked to prom. Well, fucking sure. This gets onto the hate speech thing and the trannies. Here we go. Yeah, he's on with the trannies again. Yeah. When I was in secondary school, I went to a really brutal, horrible secondary school, actually. But when I was in secondary school, there were kids who nobody fucking liked. Sorry. And I remember when I was teaching, I'd say to kids, look, I can't make you like each other, but just don't beat the shit out of each other in my classroom. Could you please refrain from that, until at least some other teacher comes in or whatever. But I never try to force people to like one another, because there are kids in school who you don't fucking like. And it's okay so long as the school has a rigorous bullying procedure in place to make sure that those kids don't get picked on. But they always do. They always do. I mean, I taught in one particular secondary school in 2012, and it was a really good school because, having been quite an experienced secondary teacher by that time, I didn't see any significant bullying. Kids tease each other. That's a different thing. That's not bullying. Teasing and slagging and that's kids. Sure, adults do that. I do it. And it's done to me. That's life. That's human life. But the sustained persecution of kids that went on a day-to-day basis in my secondary school. No, I didn't see that in that last school I taught in. Now, you see, you take the trannies and they're the equivalent of the kids who nobody liked. They really are. They're the equivalent of the kids who nobody liked. And what do you want the kids, in school, if the kids who nobody likes just fuck off and keep to themselves and everyone's cool? Oh, but he's not being included in things. No, because he's a fucking dork. That's why he's not included in shit. He's a dork. If he stops being a dork, we'll have another think about it. Oh, he's being excluded. It's like the trannies, though. They want to be included in fucking everything now. Well, sorry, you can't sit at our table. You're not gay men. Right? You're not gay men. Isn't it funny how, I'm old enough to remember when being a gay man was a kind of a focus, a focum of persecution. Now we're the cool guys, we're the jocks, we're the ones who everybody wants to be around. Isn't it funny how things change? But gay men were always cool. I remember in uni, they had the gay man's stall on Freshers Week, and a girl in a hat, kind of South Dublin girl comes up. She said, I want to join the gay club because you guys are all so cool. And I remember they were all laughing about it. I said, look, she said, I said to them, she said she wants to join us because she thinks we're cool. She doesn't want to have us burnt at the fucking stake. I said, would you not fucking see it for, be grateful for small mercies. But that girl actually, as much as it may have seemed maladroit for a woman of 18 or 19 to put it that way, she was saying that she liked gay men. And what she liked was the edginess and the courage that a lot of us have. Our ability to stand out from the crowd. Our ability, and I know what that girl was getting at actually. If you look at popular culture, going back hundreds of years really, gay men were the driving force because we're masculine, but we're a bit different. I'm not going to go as far as to say we're feminine, but we see it from a broader point of view. Usually, the average gay man sees things from a broader point of view than the average straighty. And gay men have tended to be pushers in popular culture because we're good at spotting new trends and we're good at changing things and, fecking around with things. And that's actually, believe it or not, this is an interesting remark, but that's a masculine characteristic. That's a masculine characteristic, to want to innovate, to want to push. That's why I was always a really good teacher with secondary girls, because they loved that edge that gay guys have. I mean, secondary girls just adore gay teachers. I found, when I was a student teacher, I did a year in a girls' school, and I'd better control than most of the long-term permanent teachers. I could just walk into a classroom and look at them, and they'd all go quiet, because they all wanted to be on my team. They all thought I was so cool. They did. I must sound boastful, I sound like Varadkar here, but I was, when I was a student teacher, they actually, when I was a student teacher, I was the only student teacher in the school, because it was a very big girls' school in Dublin, and I was the only student teacher who was given classes both for training, and they gave me a little bit of teaching as well, with 4th, 5th and 6th years. That was, I remember when I qualified then and started teaching, I was telling teachers in the staff room when I was doing my HTIP and Ed, I was given senior cycle. I might as well have just said, I've just walked down to the 10 fucking commandments here. That's what teachers are like, though. I used to think teachers are broad-minded. No, then I worked as one. Fucking saw it for myself, But John Waters in his latest article is talking about the militant trannies, yeah. And he's saying something that I just got knackered on fucking Facebook again. Oh, fuck. I got knackered by the pretend men. Oh, no, what are the pretend women? Yeah, sorry, they're men who think they're women. That's what, yeah. It's hard, when you're dealing with the mentally ill. It's hard to analyse their fucking terms here. I refuse to say trans man, I refuse to now buy into their fucking language. These fucking psychotic cranks. But there was a picture of a man called Lydia Foy with Joan Burton and some other cocksucker politicians. The passing of the Gender Recognition Act. And I have to say, I have never felt such contempt for elected politicians as I did when I saw that photograph. Because Joan Burton has fucked off now to buy a new vibrator and is off doing whatever fucking retired politicians in this shithole of a country do. But Lydia Foy is still around. Oh yes, Mr. Foy is still around, campaigning for Tenny. Mr. Foy has become the grand old dam, and I use that term in their language really, of Trans Equality Network Ireland. Oh, Lydia. I remember one other freak in tranny said, Lydia, that's their language, she was the Trojan horse. And a friend of mine in Canada, a really good friend actually, a straight guy, he'll be listening, he knows exactly who he is. He and I talked about that at length. Trojan horse, Trojan horse, Trojan horse. Yeah. This particular individual who used that language has come to attention before and was part of another group called Belong To, which is a profoundly discredited group. But Tenny's on the way to being as disgraced as Belong To. Trojan horse. So they know that people don't like them. Yeah. Well, I mean, you always look at Giba. Or you look at when, when the trannies did this petition to censor the Irish Times, and all the fucking trolling was a howl. I actually say that to its full extent. The trolling for the petition to censor the Irish Times, that's what that is. That's a petition to dictate to the Irish Times editor what he or she may, he has to get the permission of the trannies with what he puts up. The trolling was hysterical. And they were all talking about Giba and whatever his name is, and this other person got mentioned as well. And this is a group who we should be protected from. And instead, our spineless cocksucker reptile politicians bent over like bitches, particularly Aon O'Riordan, my own local TD. They bent over like bitches. And they gave those scumbags everything they wanted. And the more you give them, the more they demand. These filthy scumbags. So, yeah, good man, John Waters. Yeah. I'm glad he's calling them out. Another friend had said to me that John Waters had described the trannies as the most dangerous and vicious cult group of all. They are, yes, that's right. If John said that, he's correct. But I think, based upon his article today, that would be his position. I got wise to those dirtbirds back in June of this year, but actually somewhat earlier this year, around March or April of this year, when I found myself by instinct checking my pronouns, and then I said, no, fuck you. little finger to you all. I'll decide what pronouns I use. I'm not going to be told by a crowd of mentally ill freaks. No, I'll decide the pronouns I use. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm just going to read out a tweet. It is on the account at HNDCPSTD, Handicap Standard Ideology. It's a Twitter account. I think it's one of those anonymous accounts. Never forget that it takes 24/7 propaganda, constant censorship, and a looming legal professional sword of Damocles over our heads, all just to keep us from winning instantly. Their plan requires warping all of society with CIA, MK Ultra psychological warfare techniques forever. But the second that they let any social space go without fake consensus and strict moderation, it organises itself around the truth immediately. Word. Those monsters in Tenny are relying on dogs in Fine Gael and Labour and the Social Democrats and the Greens and the more cowardly members of Fianna Fáil. I do differentiate. And of course fucking Sinn Féin, that Yoki Bus Fintan Warfield, you know. They rely on them to put in place draconian legislation that nobody wants in order to terrorise people into not criticising them or asking questions that they might find too awkward. I saw an article today in that wankrag, the Irish Examiner. That wankrag, the Irish Examiner, about an elderly couple somewhere outside of Dublin who got done for not wearing masks. And what happened was the couple did not do what I have always done and invoked their indemnity. It's like Peg Bottomer in Bandon. They shouldn't fucking have to. They shouldn't fucking have to. I don't believe that everybody should have to have the degree of legal, and I'm not a lawyer, but legal experience and procedural know-how that I have. Ordinary people like that elderly couple, the woman was in her late 70s and her husband was in his early 80s, got a fine of something like €400 and a criminal record, right, for not wearing a mask in a supermarket. I'll read it out to you. So it's from the Irish Examiner by, I was about to incorrectly use the word journalist, by somebody called Gordon Deegan. It's the Irish Examiner, so I'll have to do the accent here. You know, like, I can't do posh Dublin, my own voice really for the Irish Examiner, because it's not the Irish Times. This is the Irish Times, actually. It's run by the Irish and owned by the Irish Times, but it's for the kind of, for people who kind of pick their ear when they're talking to you and whose mouth moves when they're reading something. Anyway, a married couple with a combined 157 years of living peacefully and not troubling anyone, has been convicted over their refusal to wear face masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. At Killaloe District Court, Judge Mary Larkin convicted Ryan Austin, 81, and Nikki Austin, 76. Just to interrupt the accent there, Nikki Austin's the wife. Both of Wood Park, Mount Shannon, County Clare, over the refusal to wear face masks at the Aldi store in Killaloe during the COVID-19 lockdown on January the 26th last. Solicitor for the couple, Billy Loughnane, said his two clients had over 150 years of living peacefully and never causing trouble in all that time. The two contested the prosecution, and Mr. Loughnane said they were very private people. The non-wearing of masks by this couple was a private matter and not any form of public protest. Mr. Loughnane said the wearing of masks caused stress to both of them. He said the JP, as a matter of policy, won't provide letters concerning non-wearing of masks. That's true. But how did I respond? I wrote to the Commissioner for Dublin and I said, if my GP won't give me a letter, well then that means that I don't have to get one. So you have to take it on its word. But you see, this is an elderly couple from Killaloe or wherever. How are they to know shit like this? The couple received a summons to appear in court over the non-wearing of masks after their failure to pay on-the-spot fines. Judge Larkin imposed fines of €80 each on the couple arising from them breaching COVID-19 health regulations by not wearing face coverings while shopping at the Aldi Killaloe. That's how it's written here. At the Aldi Killaloe on January 26th last. So in other words, she gave them the fine they'd have got if they'd paid the spot fine. That is, this is where judges send a message. It's like meaning. They send messages as well. She didn't increase the amount. She had to convict. Background. Sorry, loss of accent briefly there. Background to the case. At around 11:40 a.m. at a day in the store, the two were approached by two local Garda detectives over their non-wearing of masks. In evidence, Detective Garda John Jenks said that after he advised the Austins they should be wearing face masks, Nicky Austin replied, "I don't have to wear a mask, it's not the law, show me the law on it." Well, you see, this is where Nicky Austin stepped in shite, because it is the law. Right, but then what you do with stupid laws, you find the exemptions. I did it, there you go, the end. But he shouldn't have to do shit like this. Detective Garda Jenks said he googled the law on his phone and showed them to Mrs. Aston. Detective Garda Jenks said he advised the Austins to wear masks to protect themselves and others. He's told the court the two are in a vulnerable age in the context of COVID-19. I don't like that. It's not the job of the police in a free republic to police the health of other citizens. You stay out of our health, right? Mrs. Austin told Detective Garda Jenks she'd no COVID symptoms, and in reply, Detective Garda Jenks told Mrs. Austin she may be asymptomatic. Oh, so he's not only Detective Garda, but he's also A, doctor, and B, the carer in charge of this elderly couple. Overreach. Detective Garda Jenks said Ryan Austin produced a self-declaration form that he didn't have to wear a mask, and Detective Jenks said the two could provide no medical reasons as to why they couldn't wear a mask. They don't have to provide evidence. I've said it's for two reasons: difficulty breathing because of my halitosis in my case, and extreme distress, and I say both of those earnestly. Detective Garda Jenks, now listen, this is the other one. Listen to this. Detective Garda Jenks said other shoppers came up to himself and Detective Sergeant Ronan O'Hara during their conversation with the Austins to thank them for enforcing the COVID-19 regulations. Oh, remember them. Remember them. Remember them. I do. I remember everybody who tried to grass on me for not wearing a mask. But you see, when the Gardaí came down from me, the first thing they did was they spoke to the security guard and the manager. The security guard and the manager said, "Mr. Morris has permission to be here without a mask." The guard said, "We're out of here, nothing to see." That was because I happened to be in luck that day. I got two Gardaí who are not fucking fanatics. Maybe also, I don't know, they checked me. They would no, actually, those two guards who came to the supermarket for me are good. And by the way, we must remember this, and I do say this now very much seriously. We must not tar all of the Gardaí with the same brushes which we tar a fanatic who thinks he's got the right to lecture people on their health. Right? The two Gardaí who came down, I will measure my words, but I think they had a proportionate attitude to it. That's the best way I'd put it. But also they established, and I mean, I made you see, here's where it gets fun. I made a criminal complaint against the person who called the guards, and they upheld it because he was wasting their time maliciously and deliberately. That now, guys, that's style. That's style. The shopper who called the Gardaí on me had been told by both the manager and the security guard that I had permission to be there without a mask. But no, he insisted on calling the guards down, so I subsequently made a complaint against him by way of a criminal statement. I went up to my local Garda station and made a full caution statement. And one of the things I put in the statement was the Gardaí ascertained upon being told by the manager that I had permission to be there without a mask. Being told by the manager, they had ascertained that no crime had happened. I said, "Stop a second," to the guard. "Yes," he said. I said, "Are you satisfied that that's an accurate version of events?" He said, "Yes." Now, expect a couple in their late 70s and early 80s to do shit like that. I'll carry on. Detective Garda Jinks said other shoppers came up to himself and Detective Sergeant Ronan O'Hara during their conversation with the Austins to thank them for enforcing the COVID-19 regulations. Oh, they're insects, haven't we seen? Thomas Sheridan says it. Isn't it a lesson? Isn't it an eye-opener what insects there are among us? Because, and this is not a joke, these are the same kind of people who would grass Anne Frank's family into the Gestapo. I said that to a crowd, college girls. I was talking to a crowd of college girls in a cafe last year. And kind of coming up to Christmas, we were all sitting outside. And I said, the kind of person who'd grass on a person for not wearing a mask in the supermarkets is the kind of person who would have grassed on Anne Frank's family to the Gestapo. And there was three. They were kind of, one of them was a lawyer. And, she was actually a barrister. And they fucking roared laughing when I said that to them. And I said, you're laughing not because I'm wrong, you're laughing because I'm right. And they said, yes. And I said to them, the reason why I don't wear a mask is the reason why I won't be getting a vaccine. I was saying this last year even. I said, it's the same thing that I'm sure you as educated women would agree with. My body, my choice. I said, and by the way, I am pro-choice. I said, so, one of the things that RTE and the Irish Times and the Irish Times and Riddle and the Irish Examiner come out with is that, the anti-maskers, they're also anti-choice. No, I'm pro-choice. It is consistent with my position. If I want to wear a fucking mask, I will. But I'm not going to be forced to fucking wear a mask, and I will go to jail over that. And you see, maybe this elderly couple, by the way, like Peg Buttimer, they shouldn't have been put in that position, by the way. John Waters said that before, and he's right. Putting them in that position at all is an affront. It's a travesty. But I think it was my own earnestness of which I said, no, I'd go to jail for that one, for wearing the mask thing. I'm serious about that. I would go to jail for that. Because it's highly degrading and it's highly upsetting. And I do have, I'm claiming halitosis as a genuine medical reason. That if you have gingivitis and hot breath and that kind of thing, storing it up in a mask would make you sicker. It has to be let go out. It has to be let go free. Stand back if you don't like it, But, and by the way, just to reassure my followers, I do brush my teeth, by the way. But, and also it would cause me extreme distress. And that's a religious exemption as well, actually. Is it against your religion to be forced to wear a face covering? I would say it's against mine. I'll read this paragraph. I've read it twice before. I'll read it one more time. Detective Garda Jenks said other shoppers came up to himself and Detective Sergeant Ronan O'Hara during their conversation with the Austins to thank them for enforcing the COVID-19 regulations. A while ago in my own local supermarket, she was a new member of staff. She said, "Excuse me, sir." She was Polish. This takes an interesting turn as well. "Excuse me, sir." Insert Polish accent here. I won't do it because she's actually really nice on them. That particular member of staff. "May I ask why you're not wearing a mask?" I said, "Who are you?" "Well," she said, "I'm a member of staff." She said, "There's been a complaint." I said, "Well, the manager has given me permission not to wear a mask." "Oh, okay." She said, "That's fine." I said, "How does this arise?" I said, "This was, it was only about 3 months ago this happened. This," I said, "was established and I was given permission not to wear a mask in August of last year." She said, "A customer made a complaint." "Oh, okay, right." I said, "Will you introduce me to the customer?" "No," she said. I know. I said, "I'd like to have a conversation with her." "No," she said, and I'm really just out of mercy for her. "Yeah, well, I said, I think you're probably right. Aren't they insects? Aren't they insects? When we cleaned out our sewer and found insects and the odd mouse there's more integrity in them than those kind of people. They're only human in the outside. The veneer is human, but there's nothing human there. There's nothing human there. Oh my goodness. And they came up to the coppers, having it was probably those cunts who ratted them. "Oh, we want to thank you for enforcing the COVID regulations and keeping us all safe." If I could get away with doing something, and I won't say even here in Odysee, the junkyard here in Odysee, I won't elucidate what they deserve. I won't elucidate. I won't elucidate what they deserve for doing that to a couple in their late 70s and early 80s. I won't elucidate. Oh, we're seeing the vermin among us. We're smelling the excrement, aren't we? Aren't we smelling the excrement? My goodness. I remember going to the bank a while ago. We got a sterling cheque from my parents, and that particular, it was the TSB or something, they've closed that particular branch, and I have to go fucking 7 camel rides to lodge a cheque. But I went down, and you have to go in to lodge a sterling cheque. You actually have to lodge it across the counter. And I was only handing in a letter from my parents in which they sign. You have to sign a declaration. We consent to the sterling cheque being lodged at today's exchange rate, etc. And I walked in the door of the bank, and an owl one says, "Where's your mask?" I closed the door. I said, "Excuse me, could I speak to whoever's in charge, please?" I went to the full Karen. I can do, listen, come here. Nobody does the Karen better than me. I might as well sometimes just set up a little stand and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, please all be quiet and gather round because I am now about to make a scene. And when I make a scene, no fucker makes a scene like me." I said, "Sorry, we have somebody here who wishes to question my medical history." And the manager said, "I didn't hear her say that." Well, I said, "Maybe she'll come back and talk to you." And the woman had this time gone down to the far end. I said, "Excuse me." "Oh, no, the manager said, we can talk to the customers." "Okay," I said, "maybe you'll go and ask her to come up and talk about my medical history." "Well, do you want to talk about your medical history?" Said the manager. "No," I said, "I don't want to talk about my medical history." The manager said, "We presume that you have some legitimate exemption from wearing a mask." "Correct," I said. "Well, we're not asking you any further questions." "Good," I said, "I appreciate that." I said, "And I appreciate your courtesy." And then an assistant manager said, "Maybe the woman was just concerned." I said, "This is a stranger." I said, "A stranger isn't entitled to question me." "No, we're not saying that." "Well, then," I said, "as your senior manager said, you're not, in fairness to yourselves," I said, "you're not questioning me in relation to my exemption. You're taking my word for it." Then an outlaw comes up and he says, "We're all sick because people like you are spreading it around." "Close the door," I said, "we're calling the guards." Oh no, I could see the manager and the deputy manager putting their head in their hands. I said, we've a public order incident. We've abusive and threatening behaviour from this elderly man here. He said, "I mean exactly what I say." "Oh, shut up," they all said to him. They opened the door, they pushed me aside, opened the door, and they threw him out. There's a word John Waters uses, Skondonctiousness. I looked it up. It doesn't exist. It's just one of these words John Waters pulled out of his ass, Skondonctiousness. But honest to fuck, it's Skondonctiousness. And you see, I suppose it's a combination of 11 years of keeping your shit together in front of bratty teenagers. A combination of me having been an actor from a young age. From a teenager I was acting. And you learn how to hold your shit together on stage. So you forget your lines, you just make it up as you go on. And that's a great skill to have. It's a very, very, very valuable skill. Okay, I have 3 university degrees. I trained as a teacher. But the most rigorous professional training I got, and I say this very seriously, I've thought about this, and my mum and I have agreed. The most rigorous professional training I ever got was as an actor. You hear that in the Shite Show, the different voices. The only voice I robbed was Gemma. "Gemma, don't put rock in her hair, and we are your masters." And I thought Gemma was so much better at doing Gemma than I was. So I left that one to. I did all the other voices in the Shite Show. And acting training, and I got professional acting training over a long time, I suppose. And my old drama teacher from my teenager, she died last year in 2020, and honestly, I miss her more than I can find words for. I miss her so much. I miss her so much, and I think about her every day. When somebody dies. Now, she was in her 80s, and she'd had she'd become ill. I'll put it that way. Quite quickly, she'd become ill. And I was actually glad she died, because we all have to die at some point, and I don't like the term passed away. It's horseshit. We all die at some point. And this woman who taught up to the very end, she taught speech and drama, Betty Ann Norton, she taught speech and drama up to the very end. The idea of not being able to teach speech and drama would have killed her. I mean that. I knew the woman. We were both drama teachers. She trained me as a drama teacher. It was great training I got as a drama teacher from her. You wouldn't get it these days now. And, for her to be maybe in a wheelchair or to be in a home or whatever, in some kind of rehab, and not to be able to do the one thing that was so important to her, which was teaching speech and drama, and that would have killed her. So I very much felt that it was her time to go. And I miss her. I miss her hugely. I miss her like I cannot find words for her, because, she had good and bad points the way we all do. But one of her good points was her grasp of the absurd. And, we are in absurd times. There, it's a malign absurdity. It's not a comical absurdity, it's a malign absurdity, but it is absurd, what we're all going through at the moment, and you must see it as that. You must see it as that. You must also be optimistic. And John Waters' great article today, one of his best actually today, and I'm glad he's speaking out against those freaks. I'll let you go shortly, but I'll read out the particular screenshot that got me another 30 motherfucking days in Facebook jail. It was fun while it lasted, wasn't it, when I was not in Facebook jail? And now I'm back in fucking Facebook jail again. No. I put up this screenshot. This was a screenshot of a private message I sent to somebody. The reason why we have the tranny cult running amok in Ireland is because of weak, spineless, woke politicians who wanted to virtue signal in order to stay in favour with RTE and thereby get the airtime needed to keep their seats. They were too afraid of the trannies to be willing to say no, and that's why our republic is being undermined. It's not just since Higgins signed the vaccine passport law. The decay was there for many years already, and RTE is to blame. Yes, John, yes. It fucking is Skondonctiousness.